You're watching Chaotix.
Hey! Man, it's been a long time since I posted a video. Now, let's see how long
What? It's just an ordinary crabby.
Man, I was gone for a while. Yeah, alright. It's time to fix that. Alright, so as most of you know, I have been streaming and I've been making a few more customs. I have been away from just making videos because I've mostly just been streaming most of my customs, and I won't lie, it's been pretty fun. I've made a few of them, not a lot. Some of them new characters, most of them transformations. But in this video, I'm going to mostly focus on vanilla. I won't talk too much about Tails' Cyclone. It's finished, but mostly I'm gonna make that in my Sonic Adventure custom video. There's a lot I want to impact with that video because I worked on with Sonic and Amy. Oh yeah, I also made a new Amy. And basically, that's gonna be another video, just like how I'm gonna make a transformation video when I make more customs of like Sonic transformations. So you probably won't see Super Silver and Hyper Sonic and Hyper Shadow in this video. So now I'm mostly just gonna talk about the Chaotix and how I kind of made them. Basically, these three were kind of hard to make. I mainly wanted to focus on the Chaotix for a video because out of all the figures I made, I didn't really stream these guys too much. I remember I did do paint streams, but it's just paint streams. I want to go in depth a little more on like the stuff I did while making these guys. And trust me, these guys were hard. I was scratching my head on how I was going to make Vetor. I won't lie, out of all the three, Vetor is my favorite. Also, I kind of want to keep in mind that I do want to come back to these figures and improve some things. Mostly like Vetor's hands, Charmy, his eyes. There's nothing I could really do if I had to like split his head open and fix it. And then Espio with his nose or his horn part on his face. It's kind of a little low, but I'll get into it when I start reviewing him. But with all that out the way, let's just get into this review of the Chaotix. Oh, and just a reminder, if you want to see more about these figures, my streams are still on my channel if you just want to see more of in-depth look into how I made these figures. But I kind of know that not everyone likes to watch streams, so that's why I'm making this video. Now with that out the way, let's get into our first figure. And the first figure I'm going to review is Espio. Now Espio was a challenge. I won't lie, his head is not 100% the way I like it. I'm about to explain more on that. But I also cut his fingers to make sure he could do like the ninja signs. I don't know, this is like the first custom I wanted to do that with because I thought it would be cool. Alright, now starting off with Espio, I won't lie, I really like him. There are some areas, like I just said, are a little, you know, he kind of looks a little rough in the head, but the rest of his body is fine. I like the way I kind of sculpted. I know he's a chameleon, I believe. And I tried to get that feeling of a chameleon with, you know, the patches of clay. I feel like it should have been all like mushed together or smoothed out better. I also saw this one video where it was kind of like Espio in movie form, and I was trying to go for that, but I also wanted a more game accurate Espio too. So I was kind of like stuck in between of what I really wanted. And yeah, it didn't turn out perfectly, but I still like how the way he came out. Funny enough, the long slabs that kind of go off his head, they were longer and they kind of drooped down, but I kind of cut them off because they were too long. I kind of didn't like it, so I just like cut them off, and that's kind of why it looks like that. You can kind of still see where I cut it off, and I should have smoothed it out to make it more rounded. That's why it's kind of like kind of rough around the edges. There was a lot of cuts. Speaking of cuts, I chipped his horn probably like 2 days ago, and I had to sharpen his horn and repaint it. So yeah, it's a little shorter now. Also, the other big thing about his face is the horn kind of sits too low on like his face, and it's supposed to be a little more up on his eyes instead of his like mouth. But that's all for his face for right now. The gauntlets I kind of made with clay. I could have 3D printed them. I'm starting about 3D printing some of the parts, because usually I like just doing it in clay. It makes it a little easier. And we can't forget the fingers. This is the first time I ever had to cut the fingers, because I wanted that ninja Espio, and I just had to. You could look up a bunch of reviews on like how to cut fingers on Sonic figures. It's very scary. I had to test it out on like this one Tails figure, and yeah, as long as you're like not cutting between each finger, it should be fine to cut the fingers. Moving on to his main body. The main body was pretty alright. Mostly in the front, it was fine. I know I didn't really smooth out the fur from Sonic, but I thought it would be okay. His back spikes, I had to replace them. I'll talk about that in a minute, but let's talk about his tail. So his tail is something I haven't did before. It was a new strategy I had to do for his tail. And the craziest part is I didn't even use this strategy on my first Amy I made. Little spoiler. But basically, with the old Amy, I just clayed it and just prayed that it would stay up so it wouldn't fall down or droop. But this time I came up with a strategy where I also used with the new Amy with her dress. As you can see with the new Amy, her dress, it was fine. Like, I didn't really have to just hold her up the whole time waiting for it to dry. I basically used these little wire pieces. The pieces where, you know, when you open up a new figure in a box. Yeah, I used these. So what I had longer pieces, and I like made them into like a form of a tail, or like the dress like Amy, and I put clay all over it so it will stay like that. And that's how I was able to make the tail, because there is no way I would have been able to just put clay on his butt and it would just stay like that. I had to come up with something, so that's what I came up with. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of cool how I'm learning as I make these customs. It's like every custom I make, I always improve on something, and like just make them better. Like using strategies, like using these little strings to hold up the clay so they can keep their form while they harden. I don't know, it's cool. It's like you could really see the improvement over time. Alright, back to Espio and talking about his tail and then the improvements. The only thing to talk about now is mostly his bottom half, mostly his shoes. And other than that, like, they're fine. I mostly just put clay on the bottom of his shoes, and I kind of just made it more game accurate to, you know, the games. I didn't really try to improvise and like make the shapes of like the shoes. I kind of just put clay over his shoes and it was just fine. He was able to stand. I guess the last thing to talk about this figure is the problems that I kind of face with them. Yes, with every custom I make, they usually have some kind of problem. But luckily enough, they're not big problems. They're just small little gripes I have with this figure. So, you know, in his butt area where I had to like put all this clay so his tail will kind of like stick up. Well, in this little area, the legs with the paint kind of scrape. I tried to like use an X-Acto knife to like scrape some of that clay from the tail, so it won't like scrape all the time, and sometimes it kind of hinders the articulation, but he still stand-ups pretty fine. That's like the only thing that's bad about his tail. But yeah, other than that, the only thing is just like standing up straight is kind of hard sometimes, because he'll look like he's leaning forward when he's really not. And it also might be because of his shoes. At the bottom of his feet, I did try to make sure the feet were kind of layered, but they're kind of off layered. Sometimes he might be caught doing the splits too. But other than that, that's pretty much it for Espio. Okay, so now let's move on to a more interesting figure, Charmy B. Oh man, funny enough, I've never even owned a Charmy figure, or I mostly haven't owned any other Sonic figures in the past. Well, yeah, I never had a Charmy, so I had to make my own, and man, he's very cool. I won't lie, the biggest thing I'll say about this figure was painting him was very, very tiring. Like, it's so many colors on this guy. Fun fact, did you know that I used to think he was a girl? I swear I thought he was a girl in the past, but he's actually a guy. But other than that, Charmy is actually a really cool figure. I worked on him for a while. The one thing is he had like a little swelling on the bottom of his feet, but I kind of solved that quickly. I just put a little more clay on it, it dried up. And it's pretty obvious that I used the Tails figure, that's why his eyes are blue. Maybe one day I'll see if I can cut Tails' head in half so I can get inside of his eyes, but for now I'm just gonna leave it blue. I know his eyes are originally orange, and I don't know. Let me know if one day y'all want me to just like actually paint over their eyes. Moving on to the back, I did use a lot of those strings on this figure. I think I used it on his butt, the wings, and the little bee antlers. I also wanted to make sure I got his body proportions right, because we usually always see Charmy flying in the, I was gonna say sky, but in the air, and I don't know, his body is always like tilted, because he's a bee. He's got a little like bee back in with his stinger. So I basically tried my best to make him still slim, but like part of his body is trying to like slant up with his stinger. But I think I did pretty good. It actually looks like his back still. It looks a little wonky, but it looks alright to me. But other than that, the bottom of his shoes were a little weird to work on, because I said earlier, as you can see at the bottom, the clay was kind of like wet and had to like scrape off most of the clay and then redo it again. But yeah, he stands really good, and I'll talk about his height later. I was thinking about cutting him to make him a little shorter, but I kind of like the height he is. He's probably the same height as Cream and Tails, which I know Charmy is usually even smaller. But moving on to his antlers, yeah, I put the strings on for his antlers too. Doing these were a little complicated, because at first I kind of kept doing it with just clay, but then I was like, since I did it with Amy and Espio, I'm just gonna like start using it on Charmy. Yeah, those are all the 3 parts. I used it with the strong string, and yeah, it held up really good. Like once I started using it on most of my customs, like I was loving the strategy, because now most of the parts that's usually just always drooping just stayed in place. I did have to like cover it up with a little extra clay, because it did keep coming off, but I fixed it. Usually when it's like falling apart, I just add more clay and it usually just fixes the problem. But oh, he just tilted back a little bit. Other than that, there's not really much to talk about Charmy. I think I did pretty good on him. I mean, he's mostly very, very detailed, and I had to paint like a lot of sections on him, like the zipper and his jacket, and yeah, I guess the last thing I'll talk about is like his size. I wish he was a little smaller. I could have cut his legs in half, but I kind of didn't want to. I didn't want to risk that. I was a little scared to do that. But regardless, I like the way he is and his size, so yeah, that was pretty much it for Charmy too. Alrighty, now we are down to our last member of the Chaotix, and this one is a special one, because I have no idea how I pulled this one off. Now, before I actually start talking about the Vetor custom, I gotta start with how I even came up with how I was gonna make this figure. Cause boy, I had a lot of doubts. I was like, how the heck am I gonna make a movie version of Vetor? I almost thought it was not impossible, but like compared to my skills, I just didn't know how I was gonna do it. My first thoughts was like, I need someone big, like Knuckles. That was like the only other Sonic character in the movie form that was like big enough to fill this role. And I still didn't know how I was gonna do it, because I would have to take out so much of Knuckles. And I really doubted myself on this custom a lot. I didn't know what to do. So I started with the head. I really struggled with trying to take this head off and like cutting off all his, I was gonna say quills, but mostly just his head and like all the fur around it, because you know he's like an echidna. I don't know what he has, but regardless, I took off his head, which is already hard enough, and I had to figure out how am I going to make this an alligator or crocodile face. So I grabbed my X-Acto knife and I started cutting away. I started on the side of his head, trying to cut off his fur. I'm just gonna say fur. And I started trying to ripping it off, and parts of it was actually kind of coming off. I still had to go around and cut all of it off because the plastic is very thick and it's really stuck to his dome. So yeah, I had to go all the way around with the X-Acto knife and cut all the way around his head to see if I can get it all off. Not gonna lie, Knuckles has some very thick plastic, so I had to be very careful when cutting off all this plastic. And it was tough, but eventually it did all come off, and I kind of like ripped it off with my bare hands toward the end. I don't know if I really show it that much, but I know I got a lot of camera angles of like cutting it off. But yeah, eventually I finally rip it off, and you won't believe the shape of his head when you cut off all that hair or fur on his head. It looks so goofy. I mean, look at this. Literally, when you take all of that off, oh yeah, and the top part came off like very easily, kind of. And mostly this is the part where the little forehead knot on the front of his face was kind of glued in, so I had to get the X-Acto knife again and try to cut off that glue. And mostly when I got that off, that was pretty much it. His head is kind of like this thicker hollow plastic that is like, if you really want to like take it off or break it, you would probably have to get a hammer. I didn't use a hammer for this part. I kind of just took off the little piece on top of his head off, and yeah, after that I just had this red bean of a head. And since the front piece of his head kind of popped off, the eyes kind of came out easily. They didn't pop out in this footage, but yeah, they popped out really easy. But yeah, when you cut off all that fur, this is what you're left with. Just a little red bean head Knuckles. After this, I just started looking at a bunch of Vetor pictures, and I started grabbing some clay and I went to work. I don't have that much footage of when I started doing his tail or when I was making his mouth, but if you kind of want to see some of that, you probably have to watch one of my streams. But even with my streams, I mostly just painted on those, so yeah, I don't really have footage of that.
Hey guys, what's up?
Sonic, what the heck happened to you? You look weird.
Whoa, what do you mean? I'm the movie version. I mean, it's different.
So this is what Charmy was talking about. The movie
Wait,
version.
what? You're telling me Charmy signed up for this too? He looks like that too?
Yeah, everyone's been doing it. Besides, even Espio signed up to do it too. They're ready for you to...
Yes.
Wait, what? You too? Ugh, This is crazy.
Hey, Vector, check it out.
Huh?
Look at me. I'm in movie form now.
Espio, what did they do to you? You look
Come on,
horrible.
you should try it too.
No way. There's no way I'm joining you in that movie franchise. Espio, wait! Alright, I guess it's time to review me.
Yeah, that's Vector the crocodile. Well, I'm not gonna lie. After all the stress, all the worries, I like the way that he came out. I really love the way that he came out. I was so scared. I can't tell you. Like, it went from Knuckles to Vector. Like, how? Only explanation I have is because I used to be in like art class and we did a lot of clay projects. But anyway, let's get to the figure. Well, he kept all his articulation, I believe. The only part of his articulation that's kind of crappy is the tail behind his left leg that can't move, but everything else just kind of stayed the same, other than his head too. He doesn't have articulation in his head, but I love the way how I made his like whole gator mouth. My only regret with the gator mouth is I wish I made it just a teeny bit higher, but the reason why I made it low was because for him to look at other characters straight, and that was like the only way to do it. I was really debating if I wanted to have his mouth open, but I kind of just went with it closed because I just thought it was kind of a better option. I wanted to do maybe like an articulation thing too, but I don't think I was that advanced yet. Now let's see, we can also talk about the chain around his neck. That was 3D printed. I 3D printed that and I painted it gold. And I really do like the gold that I did paint on him. I was debating if I was gonna put the yellow on him or just regular gold. I'm glad I went with gold. I remember some people in the stream saying they wanted a more realistic look. I couldn't do scales. Like the bottom of his shoes are also like still kind of knucklish, but only on the bottom. I kind of like the sole, so I just kept them. His tail is pretty good. I wish I made it a little thicker. If you can see like at the end of it, yeah, like right there. I wish it was just a teeny bit thicker, but it's alright. I gave him articulated hands. All I did was I just shaved down Knuckles' knuckles, and it kind of just made it look like regular hands. But yeah, and he has the articulation around his waist. I kept that. I was seeing if I could keep that one because I didn't want it to be merged all the time. So I was like, let me try and see if I can give him an articulated waist. And I try to make it like cover up with the lines on his chest. So, you know, it's kind of like the scale lines on him. The one thing I will say, this is also on Espio, I didn't talk about it, but some of the clay is still like on their eyes. I kind of barely put like stuff over their eyes when I was working on them. And yeah, that was kind of a bad thing on my part, but his eyes still turned out fine. I was able to even make them yellow too. And yeah, he has pointer fingers too. I am thinking about eventually coming back to his hands and replacing them with like better like Vector hands. I'm thinking about buying another Vector and then replacing them with those hands, because these are okay for right now, but everything isn't still 100% like certain. Like I will come back to probably Espio and Vector. I think Charmy's okay, unless I'm like I have to get in that tail's head and cut out his eyes to make them the right color. I think I'll be fine. But yeah, all I did was I just shaved down his knuckles, and basically it just was a regular hand. You could still see where the knuckles were. I didn't sand them down too good because I kind of already was just planning on trying to do better hands. I was almost thinking about like even 3D printing them instead of, you know, wasting money on another Vector. But yeah, I'm very proud of this figure. It's actually one of my, well, I wouldn't say it's my #1 custom figure I love. It's probably either my second or third. I'm not gonna lie, like, I've been making a lot of good customs. Like, I just been getting better and better. After doing Vector, I think I have more confidence that I think I could probably do more exotic characters like Big or just any other character. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for Vector. I love this Vector. It's not really too much I can complain about. Like, the only thing I want to come back and fix is mostly his hands, and everything else is fine. It's one of my favorite figures I've ever made, and I hope you guys like it too. He will be seen in a lot of stop motions coming in the future, especially since I'm getting back into the stop motion game. You know, getting back on that grind. I gotta show out more videos for you. So yeah, that's all.
Alright, cool. Are we done here? I'm ready to see Vanilla already.
Alright, fine. I'm gonna get Sonic for you.
Come on, guys, hurry up. Huh?
We're here. We made it.
Oh, where were you two? You guys are so late. Vanilla could show up any moment. Sorry, Amy. I had to carry this big gator.
If we're late, did she leave?
No. Lucky for you, she didn't even show up yet. Hey, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. Hi, Vanilla. Well, looks like my work here is done. Go get her, Crocodile.
Here goes nothing. Hey, Vanilla.
Oh. Hey, Sonic, will you ever take me out one day?
Maybe one day. Alright, one last custom, and then I'm gonna end the video. So, my last custom I wanted to show today was Vanilla. Now, if you've seen some of my streams, then you probably seen this figure a lot. And yeah, this figure, it took like 3 streams to do. I took my time on this one. Basically, the biggest thing is I was worried about her ears the most. That was like the #1 thing I kept worrying about, but everything else kind of just went naturally. Her head is on. I like her face, like in general. I got her right eye colors. It's usually with Sonic, but yeah, in her ears mostly they're still a little limited, but at least they can still move, just like Cream's. Let me get Cream real quick, cause yeah, I was struggling to get Vanilla's ears to work just like Cream's. But would you look at that, like mother like daughter. That's crazy. I actually made Vanilla and Cream, and I made their ears move. So maybe one day when I do a stop motion, I just kind of have them flying with their ears. Even though Vanilla, we never really see her ears like flap like that or just fly with her ears. But moving on to her dress, I gave her like these little puffs on her arms. It really hindered her articulation. I didn't know what to do. I just put clay around it to just make the puffs, and her dress is fully clayed. So yeah, it's not movable at all. She can't really move her feet at all. She's kind of like a statue almost. She could just move her arms, and yeah, her feet are just there. I did paint under there. It's like if you look deep in there, I didn't really paint in there, but it doesn't really matter. This figure turned out great too. Alright, and that's pretty much it for all the Chaotix. I hope you liked this video, cause it did take a little while to make, but I'm trying to get back into making stop motions too. I will make another showcase one day. It'll mostly be transformations, but until then, I'm just going to wait on that. Other than that, everyone have a blessed day, and I will see you in the next video. Beats! Let's get serious, Shadow.